Hey everyone, and welcome back to Examify's IGCSE Physics Prep, your one-stop guide to acing your IGCSE Physics exams. Hope our IGCSE Physics Revision Series had been helpful for your prep. If you haven't watched it yet, check out the description box below to view the complete playlist. Today we are diving deep into one of the most crucial papers you will face in your IGCSE Physics journey, Paper 1 or Paper 2, which is a multiple choice question paper. Whether you're just starting your revision or you're in the final stretch before your exams, this video is going to give you everything you need to maximize your score on this paper. By the end of this video, you will understand the exact format of the paper, the most effective strategies I used for tackling different types of questions, and how to prepare efficiently so that you can walk into the exam room with confidence. So let's jump right in. First things first, let's talk about what you're actually up against. The IGCSE Physics Paper 1 or Paper 2, the multiple choice paper, has a very specific format, and understanding this format is your first step towards success. You will be answering a total of 40 questions in just 45 minutes. Now, if you do the math quickly, that gives you just over 1 minute per question, which means time management is absolutely critical. We will talk more about that in a moment. Each question will present you with 4 options labeled A, B, C, and D. Only one of these options is correct, and your job is to identify which one it is. Here's something really interesting that many students don't realize. The questions on this paper are arranged in a chronological order according to the syllabus. What does that mean for you? Well, if you have been studying the syllabus in order, you will find that the paper starts with topics from the beginning of your course and gradually move towards topics covered later. This can actually help you mentally prepare as you work through the paper, because you will have a sense of what types of topics are coming up next. Now let's talk about how to prepare for this paper effectively. The preparation phase is where the most of your success lies in, long before you ever sit down to take the exam. The first piece of advice I want to give you is about the formulas. If you really struggle with remembering important formulas, create a formula sheet. Now, you won't be able to bring this to your exam, but the process of creating it is incredibly valuable. Write down all the key formulas you need, organize them by topic, and review this sheet regularly. The act of writing them down helps your brain encode the information, and having them all in one place makes your revision sessions much more efficient. The next step is by far the most crucial one. This separates the students who truly excel from those who just get by. Never memorize the concepts without understanding them. Physics isn't about rote memorization. It's about understanding how the world works. When you learn, for example, about energy transfer, don't just memorize that kinetic energy equals 1/2 mv squared. Instead, think about why it makes sense that a heavier object moving at the same speed has more energy, or why doubling the speed has a much bigger effect than doubling the mass. Connect these concepts to real-life examples. When you are learning about momentum, think about why a heavy truck is harder to stop than a small car traveling at the same speed. These real-world connections make the concept stick in your mind much better than any amount of pure memorization ever could. When it comes to choosing which topics to focus on first, be strategic about it. Start with the most frequently asked concepts. Topics like energy, motion, forces, and electricity appear over and over again in past papers. These are your high value topics. If you master these, you are already setting yourself up for a strong performance. Look at the past papers and identify which topics appear most often, and then prioritize those in your revision schedule. Finally, once you feel confident with a specific topic, practice topical past papers immediately. Don't wait until you have covered everything to start practicing questions. The moment you finish studying forces and motion, for example, grab a past paper and work through all the questions on that topic. This reinforces what you have learned and helps you identify any gaps in your understanding while the material is still fresh in your mind. And now we get to the heart of actually taking this exam, the strategies you will use to answer questions quickly and accurately. There are two main methods you need to master, and knowing when to use each one is the key to cracking this paper. The first method is what I call the elimination method. This is particularly useful for qualitative questions, which are questions that don't involve any calculations. These might be true or false questions, questions asking you to choose the most appropriate explanation, or questions testing your conceptual understanding. Here's how the elimination method works. You use the answer options themselves to guide your thinking. Start by reading the question carefully, then look at each option and ask yourself, can I eliminate this one? Maybe option A contradicts something you know to be true, so cross it out mentally or on your question paper. Maybe option B describes a situation that's physically impossible, so that's gone too. Often you can eliminate 2 or 3 options fairly quickly, and even if you are not completely certain about the remaining options, you have dramatically improved your odds. This method is incredibly powerful because it works with the structure of multiple choice questions, turning the test format itself into a tool that helps you. Now, the second method is solve before choosing. This is essential for quantitative questions, which are the calculation and estimation problems. For these questions, don't look at the answer option first. Instead, read the question. Identify what you are being asked to find. Write down the relevant formula, plug in the numbers, and calculate your answer. Only after you have done the calculation should you look at the options to find which one matches your answer. Why is this approach so important? Because if you look at the options first, you might be tempted to work backwards or second guess yourself. And the test makers are clever about including wrong answers that result from common mistakes. So, if you solve a problem independently first, you are much less likely to be led astray by those tempting but incorrect options. Let me give you a concrete example. Imagine you are given a question about calculating the speed of an object. The question tells you an object travels 200 meters in 25 seconds and asks for the speed. Using the solve before choosing method, you would immediately think of the formula speed equals distance divided by the time. You would calculate 200 divided by 25, which gives you 8 meters per second. Now you look at the options, find 8 meters per second among them, and confidently select it. If you have looked at the options first and saw something like 800 meters per second as an option, you might have second guessed whether you need to multiply instead of divide. Now let's talk about something that trips up even well-prepared students: time management. You have 45 minutes for 40 questions, which means you have an absolute maximum of just over 1 minute per question. In reality, you need to work faster than that because you need to leave time for two critical tasks at the end. First, you need time to shade in your answers on the optical answer sheet. In the actual exam, you can't just circle answers in your question booklet. You have to properly fill in those bubbles on the answer sheet. And if you wait until the very end to do all the 40 at once, you're going to feel rushed and you might make mistakes. A better strategy is to shade in your answers after completing each page or every 5 questions, so you're not leaving it all at the last moment. Second, you absolutely must leave time to review your paper. This doesn't mean resolving every problem, but rather quickly checking that you have answered every question, that you haven't made any obvious errors, and that you have transferred your answers correctly to the answer sheet. I recommend aiming to finish all 40 questions with at least 5 to 7 minutes remaining. That gives you enough buffer to review comfortably without panic. Here's a practical tip. If you get stuck on a question, don't let it eat up 3 or 4 minutes of your time. Make your best guess, mark it somehow so you can return to it if time permits, and move on. It's better to ensure you have attempted all 40 questions than to spend 5 minutes on one difficult question and then run out of time before reaching the last few questions, which might have been easy points for you. The key to success on this paper really comes down to these two things: speed and accuracy. You need to work quickly, but you can't sacrifice accuracy in your rush. This is why practicing past papers under timed conditions is so valuable. Set a timer for 45 minutes and take a full paper. See where you are when time runs out. If you are only getting through 30 questions, you know you need to work on your speed. And if you are finishing with time to spare, but making careless mistakes, you need to focus more on accuracy and careful reading. Now, I know what you are thinking. These strategies sound great, but what if you want more structured support as you prepare for your IGCSE Physics exams? That's exactly why we created Examify IGCSE Prep, and I want to tell you about 3 powerful features that make our program different from anything else out there. First, let's talk about our mock paper sessions. You have probably heard the saying that practice makes perfect. But here's what most students don't realize. Practicing under real exam condition is what actually builds your exam readiness. Our mock papers are designed to stimulate the actual IGCSE exam experience as closely as possible. You will sit down with a full paper, work through it within the strict time limits, and then receive detailed feedback on your performance. But here's where it gets really valuable. We don't just tell you what you got wrong. We analyze your performance patterns to identify exactly where you are losing marks. Maybe you're strong on conceptual questions but struggling with calculations, or perhaps you're making timing mistakes that cost you easy points at the end of the paper. Our mock papers help you discover these patterns early, when you still have time to fix them, rather than finding out on exam day when it's too late. Second, we offer productivity sessions that transform how you study. Let's be honest, sitting down to revise physics can feel overwhelming, and it's easy to waste hours feeling busy without actually making progress. Our productivity sessions teach you proven techniques for staying focused, managing your study time effectively, and making your revision sessions actually productive. We cover everything from how to create an effective study schedule that balances all your subjects, to techniques for maintaining concentration during long revision sessions, to strategies for dealing with exam stress and anxiety. Think of these sessions as learning how to study smarter, not just harder. You will discover how to make every hour of your revision count, which means you can actually study less while achieving better results. We help you build a sustainable study habits that don't lead to burnout, because we know that consistency over time beats last-minute cramming every single time. Lastly, and this is something students may find absolutely game-changing, we provide dedicated doubt-clearing sessions. You know that frustrating feeling when you're stuck on a concept, you have watched videos and read your textbook, but something just isn't clicking. That's where our doubt-clearing sessions come in. You can bring any question, any concept you're struggling with, and our experienced tutors will work through it with you until it makes complete sense. These aren't rushed 5-minute explanations. We take the time to understand exactly where your confusion is coming from, and then we explain the concept in different ways until we find the approach that works for your brain. Sometimes it's about seeing a different example. Sometimes it's about understanding the underlying principle you missed. And sometimes it's just about having someone walk through the problem-solving steps with you. Whatever you need, We are there to support you. No question is too basic, and no concept is too difficult. Our goal is to make sure you walk into your exam with genuine confidence, not just hope. So, if you're serious about maximizing your IGCSE physics score and you want structured support from people who understand exactly what it takes to succeed, check out the link in the description below to learn more about Examify IGCSE Prep and our limited cohort offers. We would love to have you join us and be part of your success story. So let's quickly wrap up everything we have covered today. The IGCSE Physics Paper 1 or Paper 2 MCQ consists of 40 questions in 45 minutes with 4 options per question. To prepare effectively, create a formula sheet. Focus on understanding rather than memorizing. Start with high frequency topics and practice topical past papers as you go. When you are taking the exam, use the elimination method for qualitative questions where you can rule out or wrong answers, and use the solve before choosing method for quantitative questions where you calculate your answers first. Manage your time carefully, aiming for no more than 1 minute per question, and make sure you leave time to transfer your answers and review your work. Remember, this paper is entirely conquerable if you prepare systematically and approach it with the right strategies. Don't let the time pressure intimidate you. With practice, you will get faster and more confidence. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more IGCSE study tips and strategies. Good luck with your preparation, and I will see you in the next video.